Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Rocket Monday, we're going to talk about reality of space funding. So let's dive deep into it. So first thing you have to understand that space is an expensive endeavor, as in there is nothing that has this sort of cost, like nothing, not even military projects. For example, if India wants to buy aircraft carrier, the project might start with $500 million, then can easily go up to $2 billion. And here's the even American super carriers, they are like generally 13 to $15 billion. That's nothing. That's chump change for space program. So it has nothing that comes close to the ability to eat money and give nothing. Like just look into how much money Starliner got, basically, so to say. So fundamentally, like, it can just devour money. So what does that mean? That simply means it's complex, and I do not mean complex in terms of just like, okay, technology is complex. That is, but the supply chain, the legal paperwork, the infrastructure, the governmental framework, all of those things make it ludicrously complex. It's not something that someone can do in a vacuum. While you can do something like that with electronics, you can't do that with space. And capital investment is bonkersly high. So only nation states can do that, like flat out. As of now, there is no scenario where it's like, okay, let's just say somebody in Australia is there and it's like, hey, I'm gonna make a space company and I'm gonna be like, do the big things. Even if they have the money, it's not gonna happen because, well, capital is so goddamn high. It requires national level support, so to say. So that's the reality. And to give you context, like what we are talking about here, well, there are 193 nations, add 2 or 3 depending on your political affiliation, but reality is there are give or take 200 countries, and only 11 of them have the ability to send stuff into orbit, like Soviet Union, United States, France, China, Japan, United Kingdom, India, ESA, Israel, Ukraine, Russia, Iran, North Korea, South Korea. Somebody might join very soon, but like, that's it. Like, and be mindful, it's not that these are the richest country, by GDP and all that. Like, there are countries here that, like, how the heck they have it, and there are other countries that you would think they should have it, they have everything sorted, but they don't. So that should give you a context, like how complex this whole beast is. And on top of that, what if you want to send your people there? What if you want to send your astronaut? What if you want to send your cosmonaut? What if you want to send your taikonaut, basically your own people in orbit? Yeah, that only 3 nations have that ability: China, USA, and Russia. So at this point in time, to give you understanding how rare that is, there are 637 humans so far, give or take, that have reached orbit. Now, is that a big number or small number? Yes, dear. There are 3,000 billionaires at this point in time, according to Forbes' 2025 billionaire list. To give you a context, you are more likely to become a successful billionaire than you are to actually go to space in orbit. So, yeah, this puppy is complex. So, funding like this eats money. Like, even military projects will be like, ooh, $13 billion, it's a lot of money. This space projects is like, bro, $2 billion for a scaffolding of a rocket. That should not be $2 billion. It became $2 billion because NASA was high. So how the heck we humanity collectively agreed to burn this kind of money? Well, war. This ladder of space is a side effect of World War II and Wonder Weapon number 2. Yes, there was Wonder Weapon number 1, and yes, it did work. It was not that ground changing. However, V2 was like, whoa. So that's how first time humanity was like, okay, this is a thing that can go high up, like really high up. So first time humanity actually saw a glimpse of the heavens, as they say. 24 October 1946, V2 number 13 was the first time humanity got a photo from beyond the Kármán line. Be mindful, because even artillery shell will not go that high. This puppy actually just like took a photo there. And be mindful, while you can technically send an artillery shell there, it has an issue where it's like the G forces is so goddamn high, it would be very difficult to get any sort of useful equipment. V2, they had a film camera on that. So, oh, by the way, video camera was also there. So film video camera, not like, analog film camera. That was not sorted yet. So this gave humanity the first view from space. So that's the one thing. And a lot of early fundamental technological development happened due to Cold War. Again, humanity will not burn this kind of money unless it's war. Like, if you ask a government, is like, hey, we need $2 billion for aircraft carriers, like, shut up, take money. Hey, we need money for schools. Lol. Lol. So Humanity, when it comes to warfare, like money is no object. You do not care. So that's how we did. And most of the thing, the fundamental, foundational thing, as in multi-staging rocket, engines, engine reignition in space. Be mindful, if you watch very old rockets, they did not had the trust and faith in their own machines. Where it's like, hey, we launch this rocket and we'll stage it. They're like, no, no, no. We launch it, all engines firing, and we drop engines because we do not have faith that the new engine can be ignited in second stage. So they're like, okay, we drop engines. Parallel staging rather than sequential staging. So lot of things has been sorted out in Cold War, as in 1960s to 70s. So, and so far so good. You're like, then why didn't it become cheap? Well, this comes the painful part. We did not make rockets. We made ICBMs. V2 was not a rocket. It was a boomer device. And everybody worked their ass off to make even a bigger boomer device. That's why we were doing all the technological research. And problematic part of it is that once you have enough oomph to go into orbit, you have planet-wide range, meaning you can put anything anywhere on the planet. Of course, it will not be very quick, but it can be done. So that created a what we call a risk vector, meaning imagine a world where every school or college has a project where they are building rockets. Somebody will build a big rocket and some of those rocket will go kaput and land in some bad place. And here's the bad places, like where it should not go. And rocket, if it's going high in enough velocity, as in like orbital velocity, it has enough kinetic energy. It does not need a nuke. Nuke just adds spice to the wound. Or if you want to shift delete a city. But if you want to like put a bunker or destroy a dam, all these things can be done without even explosives. You can just shift delete it just on the kinetic energy itself. So it has a risk factor. Let that be clear. And the people who are competent enough to build orbital class rockets, ICBM is the second thing. It's like, yeah, we can do it. That's why V2, ICBMs, then orbital rocket. So that creates a risk factor. Every country has to take it very seriously. Penalty, the whole goddamn sector is classified. As in, I had a very unique opportunity. I was in IIT Kanpur. One individual from Blue Origin was in the, basically they're giving a presentation and all that, and asked them a very simple question. How the heck you ignite New Glenn? Like, you are not using TTAP. Are you using microwave igniter or like, electric arc spark? What are you using? It's like, yeah, I can't share that with you. And like, again, we know TTAP because it looks like a TTAP. That's why we know it's TTAP. Generally, you cannot find exact detail. NASA is also very, very cautious. Like injector plate, ignition mechanism, these things are very, what you call, closely guarded. So even if Elon Musk himself wants to share, he will always share vague things. It's like, it's some sort of microwave system. It's like, how are you igniting a fluid, oh no, sorry, a gas, high flowing gas with a microwave? How? I'm like, you get the point. Like, it is ITAR jurisdiction, department, and again, they're gonna kaput your ass if you just leak willy-nilly things. So it's very difficult. Now, what does it mean for public? Well, knowledge does not freely flow and improve. For example, if you go back into basically 80s and 90s, every researchers were working on basically everything. Like, and it was worldwide collab, meaning some researcher from USA can go to Japan and study some other things about semiconductor fabrication. They can go to UK and study about something else. Then they can go to Europe to study something else. And that was worldwide collaboration. You do not have that in rocketry. You just do not. You just do not. Like specifically with rocket engines and guidance systems. So that hinders the system, meaning rockets could have been exponentially better versus what they are right now. It's just that so much paperwork is there, so much bureaucracy is there, so much secrecy is there. It's limiting us. Like it's a constraint that you are having to deal with. Again, it's much more what you call much more simplified than it used to be. But like, you get the point. Like the early years, that's why it's difficult. So War Driver gave us this puppy, and V2 was the daddy. Now we go to orbit. That's the first place where humanity actually did things. Everything else was like, I'm gonna boom you. This was like, okay, what if we do peaceful things? So first place where humanity could stay for long. Even moon mission was a mission. It was not actually gonna stay on the moon. We did not have the technology sorted to stay on the moon. And not to mention, the rocket was expensive. Actually, that's how they funded a space shuttle. Space shuttle would be cheaper. Ironically, it backfired, but as in like it ended up costing more per launch than Saturn V. But you get the point. That's why they were trying to replace Saturn V. It was expensive. So orbit became the first place where we could stay, as in like not for days, but for weeks, months, maybe even half a year. So we made stations and we call them home. At this point in time, ISS is one of those unique puppies that is in orbit. it's been continuously occupied, continuously. Like you could have a scenario where like almost two shuttle worth of crew is on board, or you could have a scenario where only two or three people are there, but it has never been a scenario where nobody is there. Like it's always occupied. So it did taught us a lot. Like of course it has its a root in war system, but like it teaches us a lot of things. Like it actually allowed us to use space for peaceful purposes and be productive. And so far, okay, who cares? But here's the deal. This became the first domain where we made profit for business, not for art of war. Meaning, you wanted to build satellite. In the old days, it was like how quickly we can spy on things. That the end. That's all it was. But after this, it's like, hey, how can we make profit from this? So first time it created profit. Like as in orbital infrastructure started to yield money for private players. Meaning private individuals could literally sink their own money, get into orbit, make money from that investment. So first time free market economy was created, as in it's a thing. It has supply, it has demand. So what are the two heavy puppies in that? Well, one is observation, another is telecommunication. Meaning, right now, US Space Force, while they do have their own spy satellites, they do not need as much as they used to. Why? Every Tom, Dick, and Harry is launching Earth observation satellites. All the data goes through them, and they censor it for like 2 hours. 2 days, I think that's the censoring period, and then they release it, and they will redact anything special. Whereas, like, what was happening in Area 51? If they will redact those sort of things, and that's how all the data flows. So you're like, okay, but isn't that going back to the same thing? It's just that private players are making spy satellites rather than government itself. No, that's the starting point. That's the first group of people who get first dips. Second is insurance company. Third, agricultural management system. These sort of things, like again, when research and scientific beers, like how do you know how much land got destroyed by forest fire? You can try to analyze it, or you can just see from space. And what at that point in time would be the value of getting that data literally 5 hours from now? As in, like, okay, 5 hours from now, a satellite will go over and we're going to have fresh photo offset by 2 days because of that secrecy thing and all that. Or in some scenarios, especially in disaster scenario, they do allow to bypass these things because again, it does save life. So that has a value, enough value that enough company do exist, they do sell services, and they are profitable. Not just one, multiple. So observation prints money. And again, independent, like government does not have to be involved. Government only has to be like, let's not release everything instantaneously. Let's just wait 1 day or 2 day. And then you have telecommunication. This was the money printing baby. Like we figured out, hey, what if we put a geostationary satellite? What if we put 3 of them and we can have global coverage? So that was like, whoa. It triggered TV boom, and everybody's like, hey, we have a TV, and that created more channels. More channels created more advertisement, more money. So telecommunication and observation are like printing money. And we started with television. Now we have two-way communication satellites. So right now, how SpaceX is printing money, like how SpaceX has the ability to fund Artemis, because again, Artemis, NASA is only paying 50%. Where the hell the other 50% is coming from? It's coming from Starlink. Of course, there are some venture capitalists who are also sinking money, but overall, it's still the same thing, where it's like, that these puppies are what they are actually bringing in the bacon. And this sort of companies, there are many more companies, and that's what I mean by like it's completely self-funded now. There is a company that is trying to make a satellite that is dedicated to dealing with smartphone, and it is in low Earth orbit, so it has enough radio oomph to do, as in like your phone, the end. That's the cell tower. It's literally behaving from a radio point of view, from an encryption point of view, from a communication point of view, handshake point of view. It's a mobile tower that is in space. Nothing else changes. It's literally your mobile phone, tower, okay, tower. That's it. Nothing else. And if this sort of thing becomes successful, the value of this company, the amount of money people are willing to pay, like any terrestrial network will, hey, we have satellite coverage, shut up, take money. And again, this in principle can deal with any 5G smartphone made in recent time. So Orbit became the first money printing enterprise where it's like, okay, we do things, we make money from things. Government is just like, a lubrication. It's not the fuel. Now, private. Right now, everybody thinks like, space became privatized. That's why they are so successful. Well, here's the deal. Due to super duper hyper high cost of rockets, only few people can actually pull it off. And if they are willing to burn all of their wealth. And there is another aspect. Whenever you see like, high net worth value, they don't actually have that kind of value. Like this guy does not have 100 billion in a bank. He does not have that. All his money is like, okay, what if he actually sells all the stock, which again, it will cause what I think Scholar short if he actually sells all of them at once. So he has to like slowly sell a small amount of it to fund Blue Origin. And again, that same goes with Elon Musk. He cannot just like dump all the money of Tesla stocks and directly go YOLO on SpaceX. He can't do that. And what about other ventures? They generally do not keep that much liquid cash, I think it's called. It's always invested. So they don't have that kind of money, even though on paper it will look like, hey, 100 billion to NASA or 100 billion of Jeff Bezos. Yeah, Jeff Bezos is not going to dump 100 billion. Even if he could liquidate it, he will not do that. So only few people can pull it off. Now, government funding or purchase agreement, they are must. Let that be very clear. Without that, it will not work. Like if you ever wonder like why there are so many private successful rocket companies in America, because of government, flat out. Because without that, principle alone will shift delete you. Now, unless you are Jeff Bezos. And even Jeff Bezos knows that. Like, why the heck he is building New Glenn rocket? Like, I'm talking in 2002. The idea was very simple. He was directly targeting contracts from military satellite system. Why he was making a Falcon 9? He was making directly to contract of a commercial resupply mission, so to say. Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab, there was a gray contract, I would say. Like, again, you can find the exact detail if you are looking for it. It's just that there is a new age contract that where they're trying to chase 24-hour launch window. As in, somebody in Space Force finds like, China puts one satellite, phone, satellite, orbit, 24 hours. That's what it's supposed to be. Basically, if Space Force picks up the phone, under 24 hours, the asset has to launch. The end. That's the thing they are doing. Again, big companies cannot do that. Even if they have a rocket, they cannot do that. Fundamentally, they can't. That's why they are focusing on small suppliers. And again, their target is just to get something into orbit, just get some read on the situation, and then we're gonna launch a proper countermeasure. But getting eyes on the site is very critical. So there are a lot of missions which government is helping. Like either it could be an agreement of understanding, even if it's not raw money, but there has to be something like that. So government has to be there. Fundamentally. And let this be very clear. Small systems do not make money. Like if you're like, hey, I'm going to make Falcon 1, money losing. Hey, I'm going to make this small puppy known as New Shepard, losing money. Like, hey, I'm going to make small Rocket Lab, losing money. It's like, okay, why the heck everybody makes it? It's what we call a competency demonstrator. That's why the first thing the company, once they start to get into a little bit of green, work their ass off to make larger rocket. Because if they stayed on this small rocket, yeah, they're going to go kaput. Only for a small duration you can make it sense. And right now it's really bad for any newcomers company, because again, there was a time where it's like, hey, CubeSat launching CubeSat. Now this alone launches enough CubeSats. So it's like, bro, we are launching 200 CubeSat in one go. Just hop on. And you're like, okay, but it does not carry me to exact orbit that I want. Yeah, this guy does that. And again, are you really willing to pay millions of dollars just so you can get into your right orbit? People will be like, yeah, you know what? It would be far cheaper to launch 5-6 CubeSats and have tiny thrusters in them and then slowly go to the right orbit. That would be far more productive. So that market domain, that there was a small slice where a small rocket could have made sense. It's gone now, flat out. So you still have to make small one because that's what gives you competency demonstration. Elon Musk building Falcon 1 was for one simple reason. Hey, I'm not crazy. I'm building a rocket. The rocket is going to deploy a payload in orbit and you can trust it. Happened. Was the second thing they did once the Falcon 1 actually worked. Shift delete Falcon 1, work on Falcon 9. Actually, they were working on Falcon 5. That also got shift deleted. So, Blue Origin, they do try to recoup some of the investment by getting, what we call tourism, but I don't think that's more for tourism. I think it's mostly like just to reduce the losses and give them a lot of credible training data. That's like shut up take money. Having that much human launch capability is serious. It's like you will learn a lot of things. And again, that's why they can successfully land their rocket in second try, which SpaceX took 5 tries. Why? Because they have testing. They know like, hey, how the heck you deep throttle an engine? It's like, bro, we got this. The PLC engineer is like, bro, we've been doing this for 20 times. We're done, normal, take it and go. And again, Rocket Lab, now if they say like, hey, we're going to make an orbital class rocket which is going to deploy payload in orbit, people will be like, hey, we can trust it. Why? They build a electron rocket. Now they can trust Neutron. That Neutron could do things. Of course, will it land on the first try? I don't think so. It's very unlikely, but it could happen. So you have those sort of systems. So it's only what we call competency demonstrator. Can I do this or not? Physics does not like small rockets. So now, what about venture capitalists? There is more than enough money. If you look into basically AI bubble, flat out more money is there. It's just that venture capitalists, they have to believe a path to profitability. Like all these 3 people had path to profitability. It's like, okay, why you are burning this kind of money? because there is a path to profitability. We can do this and it will yield money. So that is there. Without that, it's not happening. Like you can like again, India is also stuck in this very weird position. While we do have few startup companies, they do not have enough government support, and I'm not even sure if they actually manage to make a rocket and it's actually like, we can launch every month. I'm not sure that India's legal framework is ready to handle that sort of throughput. And again, FAA is struggling also, but again, FAA is struggling in hundreds, we might be struggling in tens. So that's an issue that we has to sort. Like, and again, somebody has to do like, no, we're gonna purchase it. And again, unfortunately, ISRO literally created a small satellite launch vehicle, which is directly in competition with all other systems. The only thing they have now is like, okay, small satellite launch vehicle will take, let's say, 4 years between launches. In that time, you can slide these things. I'm like, very bad approach on that. So let that be very clear. If you think private, it's not as private as you think. Like, it's not, flat out not. Now, okay, those takes care of like what's happening right now on Earth, on orbit. What about off-world, right? What about the dream of lunar landing and Martian colonies and all that? What is? Yes, we are still in very early stage of reusable rocket. Like very, very, very early stage. Like it's nowhere near where it has to be for these sort of dreams. Like, and there are only a few companies that are even trying two-stage reusable, as in complete rocket is reused. Of course, I have to say Neutron and New Glenn is trying to recover a fairings, recover booster. Second stage is the only consumable part. That's better than nothing. And Starship supposed to land whole things, as in like step 1, step 2, done, go home. And Stoke Space is also booster landing and second stage landing using Aerospike engine. So these are the two, Starship and Stoke Space. They're the only two companies that are trying to do full reuse. But we are not there yet, as in like flat out. It's not there. And not to mention, if we started to actually sort all these things out, the legal framework is not fast enough. We already had enough Congress hearing for that. It's like, okay, we really need to, speed these things up. So it's not fast enough in 2025. Of course, I do expect it to get expedited because again, China is going there. So SpaceX will put enough pressure. Blue Origin will put enough pressure. Every Tom, Dick and Harry will put enough pressure. It's like, yo, we gotta lubricate this puppy. So that's gonna happen. Now, one thing you have to understand, without national funding, there is no moon, there is no Mars. Let that be very clear. Do not let Elon Musk can do this, Jeff Bezos can do this. No. All Jeff Bezos can do is throw a thing, which hopefully should happen on February, on moon. Can he do like a full-fledged human mission? Even if he can afford it, he will not do it. It's just like, bro, I can use that money to make more money. That's the part you have to understand. It's like, I can do that. Cool, awesome. But it's like, what's the benefit? So, NASA, CNSA, as in like Chinese Space Agency. So there's not that much oomph in off-world system. Orbit, everybody is going because it is logical to do. But outside of that, it's like, ooh, not there yet. And you can't mine anything. Let that be very clear. I've seen way too many dumb articles. So it's like, oh, we're going to mine this asteroid and all that. It's like, yeah, 100% useless. There is not a single mineral that is high value enough that you can go mine it, bring it on Earth, it actually does something. Because everything in the periodic table is already, unless you find vibranium, that won't, like, other than that, nothing has value, that sort of value. It's like, okay, this has this much gold, this much, rare earth mineral. Here's the, seawater has gold. So if you want to extract gold from seawater, you can. It's just that, then why don't we do it? It will cost same as launching a rocket. That's why we don't do it. Flat out, everything on Earth has a supply and demand delicate balance. If you put a giant asteroid worth of gold and it's like, okay, it has 45 trillion or like, some stupid number. Yeah, it's not. You oversupplied it. Value will crash and kaput. Gold will be used in electrical wires rather than like actual useful things. It's like, yeah, who cares? So fundamentally, you cannot. Now, of course, will we do mining on moon and Mars and asteroids? Of course, but it will be used on site, as in Mars mining for Mars, moon mining for moon, not for like bringing things to Earth. The idea is that we're going to send the machines to Mars and moon, and they're going to build more machines using mining on site. That's the end game, not, okay, bring back things to Earth. Like, that's not there. That's not worth it. Unless like some special magic flower grows on Mars that gives you longevity, there is nothing that is valuable enough to bring it back. So flat out. And there are not enough rich people who are interested in space. Now, like, wait a minute, aren't there 3,000 billionaires? Yes. Are those 3,000 billionaires willing to risk $1 billion just on a cruise trip? Because most of them will have like, bro, I can like make more money with that money. And it's like, while space is very attractive to a lot of people, it's not soul for many other people. It's like, heck, Elon Musk has not gone to space. Think about it. Like, he has orbital rocket. It has not gone there. Jeff Bezos only went to, like, cross the Kármán line. Richard Branson, again, technically he did not cross the Kármán line, like it was close enough, but you get the point. Like, even though there are so many people, it's like not most people are interested enough. Where it's like, and again, once you realize how uncomfortable space is, you're like, yeah, it's cool, fun. But the moment you have to poop, you're like, yeah, I need to go back to Earth. The moment you have to poop, before you pooping, everything is awesome. The moment you have to poop, it's like, hey, wait a minute, I have to poop in a diaper. I have to put in a vacuum cup. Yeah, no. So flat out, off-world is not happening without government help. Orbit, it could grow. That could easily be there. So we can easily see orbital class infrastructure like space station, maybe, hopefully, knock on wood. By 2035, we have multiple orbital class infrastructure privately funded. So this was my presentation on basically the complexity of the funding argument and why people's hype is a bit too much of a hype rather than actual reality. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.